All right, welcome to the GOL Network Fireside Chat. We've got folks that are on, our members that are on Zoom, and we also have our room here. Everybody smile. These events are recorded, and the Fireside Chats is where we come together and collaborate. We bring experts in the field of different things like marketing, tax strategy, wealth building, and different types of strategy. And today we have Aaron with Ventive Technology.
It says he is Ventive, but yeah.
Ventive, I'm adding extra on there for some reason today. He will do a quick introduction before getting started. But Aaron's new to our group, so I think what we're gonna do is we'll just go around, say your name and the name of your business, and just a really quick what that includes. So he kind of has an, I think that'll be helpful.
Yes, please.
Hugely helpful. We'll do the same for you guys online as well. Keep it super short, like 30 seconds. Can you guys do it? Thumbs up, yep. So I'll go ahead and let's start. I'll start with you. I'll let you set the meter here.
Aaron and I kind of know each other, but David Diorman, Strix Technology Group. We provide IT support and cybersecurity to small businesses, and we're what's called a managed services provider. So we manage the entire IT department for a small business.
Thank you. And he manages all the GOL stuff behind the scenes with me.
I'm Veronica Moss. I'm an online spiritual life coach and hypnotherapist and author. And this is my first meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Michelle Brown Cole, Talahi Wellness, Reiki Master Sound and Vibration, and Talahi Alchemy.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Aaron Brinson. I am a software engineer / IT guy / cybersecurity guy / problem solver. I talk about being a strategist / fixer, so quite a bit of different variety there. So yeah, then my company is Ventive. It's a digital product agency. We help take web apps, mobile apps to market.
And I found Aaron here at Unbound.
Yes, randomly ran
And here he is. So we're super grateful to have you here. So thank you. Yeah, we're excited. Jody?
I'm Jody Friedman, new to Idaho by about 6 months. The name of my business is Intentional Healings. I'm a Reiki Master teacher, spiritual educator, also life coach, meditation specialist, and I'm working at Salt Room Caldwell.
Bill Doble, RN Emeritus and Pro EFT Master Practitioner, and I empower you to update your internal software so your fast mind starts having the thoughts, emotions, reactions, and body sensations that you want.
Love it. Love it. My quick introduction, Nikki McGregor, founder of GOL Network Gathering of Lightworkers, where we connect seekers and our providers of health and wellness and providing that wisdom that a lot of people are looking for and they're very hungry for, and also bringing community together. So a very unique space where we have both networking and community support. Let's go on to Tammy Reed.
Yeah, so I'm Tammy Reed. I'm a human design specialist and an energy practitioner, founder of the Harkin Method. So I help people listen to the wisdom of their bodies.
Thank you, Tammy.
Yeah.
Kim?
Hi, I'm Kim Harrison. I'm a life coach for dreamers. So all things dreams, whether it's the dreams you're having at night or the dreams that you're having of your future, I can help you process those and find the symbols within them to live the life of your dreams.
And also
New grandma.
Yes.
grandma, proud, beautiful baby boy.
I love that. I was going to say financial services and wellness.
No, I'm a new grandma.
I know it's on the brain. Number one grandma.
Yeah, we also, yes, financial services as well. We have small businesses with life insurance and retirement plans and products for savings for your future and your and also individuals. So.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, sorry, thanks, Nikki, for keeping me on track.
Full of love.
I just
today.
fall in love today, you know?
I'm Dr. Diane Walkencott. I'm the owner and founder of Inspire Natural Medicine and my new business, which is Grounded Botanicals, a plant-based herbal line that is geared towards the public just to help everybody realize that health can be a cup of hot chocolate or having a great drink or enjoying a salad dressing or all the other beautiful things I'll have to offer there.
I love it. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the introduction. Well, I don't think I have much more to really include in the introduction. We have until, let's see here, about another hour and 15 minutes. And so these are action packed. We like to give wisdom, but we also like to keep it like a fireside chat. We're sitting around a fire, we're sharing wisdom and knowledge. And so we want to be able to give the tools to be able, so you guys can actually take this tool and put it to work. That's really important, is knowledge isn't the key, really it's action is the key to success. And so we're really grateful to have such amazing guest speakers that have come on. David's in the room, he's done several of these, but thank you again, Aaron. I'm going to hand it over to you, and this is going to be fun and interactive, and I'll give you the mic.
Great, thank you. So, I have spent my entire life in tech and technology. And one of the things that I've discovered really early is that, you know, what software engineering is it's problem decomposition and solution composition. We break down problems and we create solutions based on the pieces parts that we discover in that process. And one of the things that I kind of also came to the conclusion of is that, you know, anything, if we understand a problem, we can write the code to automate it. If we don't understand a problem, we can't. And related to that, if we can't write the code for it, that means we don't understand the problem. And so a lot of times when I've learned problems simply by trying to write the code to reproduce a solution or to provide a solution for it. And so as I was going through this, there's a lot of different ways that people approach solving problems. And one I actually just experienced a couple of weeks ago. And so one of the things I want to start with is I want to go through an exercise of kind of going through the problem solving or the problem clarification using that method, because I sat and I watched everybody struggle doing that. And I think that I would love to be able to share that of kind of what I've seen that. And you'll see a lot of people right now. One of the things that people do a lot is that they talk about user journey. And this is a very common thing that you see out in the world right now. And when you try to take process and you try to work process through a journey, you start to learn some things you start to fail very badly at really understanding your problem space. And so I'm going to start just with a little exercise and like Nikki said, this is she wanted interactive. So I normally when I speak on this, I am up on a whiteboard or I'm on my iPad drawing and explaining things, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to walk through and together we're going to both fail and succeed at doing this. And my life is constructed from a series of failures, so it's a very easy way for me to learn. So I'm hoping that it will also kind of relate to you guys. So this topic came up, and I'm not going to use any names because it's an organization that is a consultancy for very large Fortune 500 companies, and which made me realize how big of a deal this is to actually find a better way of doing problem clarification. So the subject that they came up with for this was onboarding a new employee. And they said, what is the journey for a new employee coming on board? So the objective here, I'm just going to say the objective. This is a whiteboard, right? Always got to ask, is onboard a new employee. This is probably way too small to see over there. Let me,
I can bring it closer.
I'll just like realize that I'm optimizing the screen space, screen illustrate. Okay, so our objective is to onboard, pardon my bad typing, a new employee, a new hire. Okay, so that's our objective. So we have, using the journey model, we are going from some point A, this is our start. And we're going to try to get to some destination over here. This is what the model is when you're talking about a journey. You're getting from one place to another. So we're gonna start and we have a new hire. So what's one of the first things that we do with a new hire?
Train them.
Training, okay, so training, so we'll put training up here.
W9s.
So right, so you have the W9, or it's W4 I9, yeah, W4 and I9. I know how to do that too. It's the W4, you do the I9. What are some other things that we might want to do?
Equipment.
Equipment, so we need to provision accounts. Provision hardware. Anything else?
Teaching the rules.
So yeah, training, let's break training down, because teaching rules, yes, let's just say, yeah, so I guess we'll just do rules or policies. What else?
Introduce them to the rest of the team.
Team introductions. Okay, anything else? We'll iterate, so we don't necessarily have to have everything to start, but.
Other HR functions, insurance.
Oh, yes, so
you
the
know.
onboarding for benefits. Benefits, open enrollment. Benefits.
Not that there's that many companies that do that anymore, but you know.
Right, okay, so if we start talking about what's our journey that we're going through as we're doing this, what do we start with? When they first come on? So for probably the W4 I9, so let's just say we do our W4 I9. And then, so we'll just check those off. What's probably next?
I would say rules, policies, benefits,
So let's do policies.
HR.
Rules, get more HR stuff, and so then we say, okay, so then benefits, let's just do enrollment. Okay, and then what maybe we do next? Enrollments. So maybe, so we did those, we have to trade for, so we probably want to provision the accounts, provision the hardware, so we'll just do accounts. Get them their hardware. And then after that, what else do we have? I guess we have accounts, we have training, we have training, team introduction. So we probably want to introduce them to the team here too, so let's do team. And then we have our, what was the next one there? Training, so we'll do training. And then we have ready. Okay, so the person's going through this journey, they start over here, and they go through these different stages. Now, I don't know about you, but this, I mean, that's a struggle for me, like, this is not necessarily what's gonna happen. I come over here, I'm like, well, provisioning accounts, that has nothing to do with them. It has to be done, but this provisioning can happen over here, right? Provision over here. I can order their hardware over here. These things can happen concurrently. And as I'm sitting here starting over here, what do I do first? I don't know.
Interview.
And I mean, yeah, and so this could go back. I mean, we don't know what we're actually trying to do. This is the struggle that I've constantly seen whenever I try to solve problems with a journey. And everybody talks about journeys right now. I don't know, you've probably heard that the word journey is starting to become, it's almost like,
Journey, patient journey.
yeah, it's all, that's the big thing. It's almost as bad as delve. So,
And I mean, everybody's gonna have probably a different journey. Every company is gonna create a different journey for, and even the employee's journey is gonna be different in a given company, depending on.
and is this really about the employee? I mean, maybe that's not even the right objective. I mean, the objective is to have a functioning person in this role performing those tasks. But that's the dependencies on that are not just the individual. So let's just forget the journey. Let's just wipe out this journey stuff right here. forget about starting anything. And who here is a big math person? Anyone who's a big math? Little bit.
I took pre-cal 20 years ago.
So, so in math, there in graph theory, well, in one of the concepts is it's the concept of directed acyclic graph. I'm going to dive into this for a minute. It's a little mathy, but the idea of a directed acyclic graph is that you have these different nodes, and
What kind of graph?
it's a directed acyclic graph. So you will have I'm just gonna quick draw here. So anyway, so each of these nodes is a node in the graph, and then these are called edges, but we'll just call them arrows because it makes more sense. So each of these things is directed because these arrows go in a direction. It's acyclic because you can't do this. You can't create a loop. That's forbidden. So the idea of a directed acyclic graph is important because what I'm about to explain is using this concept, which I end up using for a lot of computer applications. It's going to use this concept because these relationships, these one-way relationships, what we're going to do is we're going to use a relationship called needs. That's the only thing that connects these things, is it's something that needs. So this right here needs this. So A needs B, C needs B, B needs D, E also needs D. So it's just that it's that needs relationship. So instead of viewing all these things as a journey, we're going to view it from the perspective of outcomes. So we're going to come over on this side, and we're going to say, what is it that we're trying to accomplish? What's our outcome? Our outcome is that we need work. I'm just going to call work A, B, C, whatever, complete.
Aaron, can you write a little bit bigger? I'm just seeing on this.
Oh, it's okay, I know.
Can we do it with a real world problem?
We're gonna use it with the same exact problem. Yeah, so we want this work, we need a worker. I do not use my hand, which is like my instinct is just use my hand. So we need, let's just say we need a worker hired or onboarded. We'll just say that. That's what we need, is we need somebody doing this work. So this is the outcome that we want, right? So based on this, what do we need in order for this to happen? We need all of those things, right? So if I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, so if I want, since let's just say I want them introduced to the team. So we're gonna say over here, team introduction, like we did before. Intro. So that's something that we need to have our worker on board. What's something is what else do we need for this? We need them to have their W4 and their I9. I9. So like that. So that's another thing that we need. And these relationships are just needs. Now I'm pointing the arrows this way because that's going to be the direction of flow. But so then we go and we say, okay, well, we need training. We need this training. Now, do we need them to sign a W4 and I9 before we can do training? We probably do.
They're paid to do it, yeah.
Yeah, so yes, we have to have that done first. They need to be introduced to the team before they do training. No, no, they don't. They need to be introduced to the team. Do they need to have the W4 and I9 before they're introduced to the team? No, so those are independent. So this is dependent that way. So now we've checked off that one, that one, that one. Okay, provisioning the accounts. Do we need them to have a W4 or I9 to provision the accounts?
Yes.
Probably so. So I'm just going to do provision the accounts. So yeah, so that's going to be a dependency there as well. So then what else do we have on here? So provision hardware. Can we provision hardware with like what do we need to provision hardware?
Counts.
Provision hardware. You probably do need to have your accounts. So then we have given the rules and the policies. What do we need for that? I boxed myself in a corner here. Forgive me. So we have rules and policies, we need them, do we need them to do that before any of this?
I would.
You'll probably do it before training,
Mhm.
right? So. Eraser. So let's see, so rules and policies probably before training. So probably that way, and then, so yeah, so. Okay, so let's see, so what else do we need, let's see, training is W499, do we need the W499 for rules and policies?
Yeah, probably.
Probably, so we would probably do this. So, and, okay, so forgive me, I boxed myself in a corner here, this is just bad luck on my part, but, because I haven't actually done this particular use case before. But I would redraw this over here to make it a little cleaner, which we can do here in a minute. So we hit benefits enrollment, so we need W499 for benefits enrollment as well, right? But do we need benefits enrollment for the prerequisites for any of this stuff? Why not? So let me redraw this to make it so that this is not utterly confusing here. So we're gonna start off, we have our worker on board, we have team intro, we have the W4 and I9 over here. And that's gonna feed into our, what is that, policies and rules and policies? Can't read my own writing, apologize for that. And policies. So we have that over here. We also have the W499 for the
Provision.
provision accounts. Provision accounts. And then we need provision accounts for provisioning the hardware. And then we have team intro is completely independent, we'll just leave that there. And then what am I missing? Training. As a training, we need the rules and policies for, so we'll have training. All right.
You know, the position I might need to have the hardware
Hardware for,
training.
oh, that's actually a really good point, yeah. So yeah, so we'll probably need to have their. So training, very good point. And then something along those lines. So one of the things that we end up doing here is that we have a lot of things that can happen concurrently. So these can happen concurrently, these can happen concurrently. And so and because they're independent. Now, this is a case where, in this particular case, you can come up with a whole workflow. And if I'm trying to communicate to a team, or I'm trying to come up with policies and procedures, I can document it in a way where we can go and we can say, okay, here's my approval chain, here's the different pieces that we need to have implemented at the same time. Now, this process, working backwards of those needs relationships, is how we build software, how we automate building software. We have environments that we're deploying software into, whether it's development or test or production. And then we work backwards to figure out, well, how do we get to that next step? So one of the things that when I'm working through and trying to clarify a problem, I have trouble when things are really complicated. So I generally don't like more than 3 steps. So I have a system that I'm using, I have been using for a while. And that where I have a problem statement, right bigger for screen, because this is actually where this all leads to, is this approach. And it's a way to iteratively clarify a problem. And so using this as an example, this is for new hires, which is not the general type of problem that I'm solving. Most of my problems are a little bit more on the technical side, or a bit more like how do I actually automate some sort of workflow? But the same thing applies to all sorts of things. I've been trying to work with my kids on solving some of their problems with this. It's been a kind of hit and miss, to be honest, but that's because they're 7. So the attention span needs a little bit of work. So we are going to start with being able to actually write on this board. So we're going to start with a problem statement. Now, when we make a problem statement, one of the things is that people talk about, let's come up with the clearest problem statement that we can possibly make right off the bat.
A lot of times I get through this whole problem clarification process and realize that the problem statement is completely wrong. We have to iterate to actually improve this problem statement. So we could say for our problem statement is, we need a productive worker. Now, this is a terrible problem statement, but this is what we're starting with. We don't have to start strong. So now the next step, so this is kind of our first step. Our second step is, what are the requirements? So the requirements, these tend to be what your outcome ends up being. But if you think of it as just a set of requirements, what is it that I actually need from this? How do I measure? How do I test if this is true? How do I test that I solved my problem? That's what the requirements are. So how are we going to test a productive worker?
Well, generally, I'll go to hospitals, for example, generally, they have to have the skill set before they can get in. So orientation is huge, and then you slowly break them in to whatever their patient load is gonna be. Because you can't start somebody who is new to that kind of a unit and say, here's 7 patients, go, because they'll drown. So you start them with 1 or 2 or 3, and then you build it up, or like when you're putting a new system in, you know, like you're taking from this kind of charting to computer charting, everybody needs a light load for a while. And so they have to actually be doing it, but not as hard as it's going to be.
So if you're thinking about, okay, if I'm going to accept that we've solved this problem, we've accepted that we have a productive worker here. We would say that we have somebody that has a reasonable workload, maybe, that they're doing.
Yeah, progressive.
You could call it progressive workload, sure. Workload. Okay, what are any other ways we could measure whether somebody's succeeding? Maybe we say, you know, maybe feedback from their peers. And we could say something like feedback from peers.
The dreaded productivity standards.
So dreaded, I'm gonna write that exactly as
Bill
dreaded
might know that.
productivity standards. All right, so these are basically requirements, and this is one I haven't done, so we're making this up as we go right now. So the second stage go through some requirements. These are how we're going to test whether or not our system is successful. And when we're done with going through this, we're going to do it with something that's a bit less opaque, like less unstructured like this, and go with something that's a little bit more structured, kind of to make it a little clearer, because I think this is getting a little abstract. But this is, I mean, that's what we do. We refine it. So now, once we have a set of requirements, the third thing we do is we come up with our outcomes and we work backwards. So the third stage is this directed acyclic graph. And this is really about the outcomes. And then we work backward through those needs relationships, which we did over here. Now, one of the things that we do as we go through this is that we clarify, and because we did this first, we've kind of done a little bit of clarification here anyway. But one of the things is that we can go through and say, well, what are the actual requirements for us to have a productive worker? And we've identified what those are with, okay, well, we need them interested in the team, we need them trained, we need the hardware provision, I mean, a lot of these stages in here are what those outcomes are supposed to be. And the final outcome should be very aligned with what your problem statement is. So this is imperfect. We iterate, we get better, and as we go through, and because of the time frame, and this is something, to me, working through a problem like this is something you would spend hours doing, not 10-15 minutes, because you're going to go in through and you're going to say, okay, well, what rules and what policies? Somebody has to write these rules and policies. So that becomes a whole nother problem. Do we have rules and policies? And if we don't, well, okay, well, that's another outcome that we need, is we need rules and policies. do we have a procurement standard? Well, maybe we need to build that. Do we have training materials? Has somebody written that? And so for each of these, you have to go through and ask the clarifying questions. Well, where does that come from? What does it mean to train? What does it mean for them to, what does it mean for us to provision hardware? What hardware? What are our hardware standards? Provisioning accounts.
Do you take this from, so let's say training, you don't have any training material, right?
Mhm.
So does that become a whole new problem statement?
It would, I would say so. So this is one of the things that usually what happens for me is I end up starting with one problem. I end up with about 30 of them.
Yeah.
So I end up with a whole bunch of different problems. And usually I get to this outcome stage. So look, I'll give you an example of one that I did for St. Luke's right before I left. They needed this broker portal. And they had commissions that they're trying to report on their broker portal. They needed to have a PDF document that they could go and look at, and they also needed to generate the payments file, the ACH file that would get sent out for payment to Infor. And so when I was doing up this whole approach, I said my problem statement is that we need to be able to provide the brokers with feedback on their commission and issue the payments. The requirements are, well, they need to be able to log into the web portal. They need to be able to download a PDF document of their statements. And they need to be able to, and the payments need to get processed and sent to them. And so those are the requirements. And then that came up with additional requirements like, okay, well, when do they need to be able to do that? When do they need to be able to log in? And what's the how often? I mean, I think there's a lot of little details that we started to iterate through as we went through discovery with this. And when we actually built the DAG, the directly acyclic graph, it was exactly like this. And it went down. The whole thing is when it came down to it, and we had those outcomes, which were the PDF document and whatnot, and the ACH transaction file. And when I went back through that, there was stuff we found questions like going through what the process was oh, well, okay, in order to do both of those things, we have to know what the calculation is. We have to write a tool to do that. We have to write a PDF file generator, and there's all these different things. Well, then we get down here, and we're like, well, where are we getting the data from? Well, it's an export from Epic. So, okay, well, how do we get that export from Epic? And so what ended up happening is we get to the far left of this, and we get a core set of items, 3, 4, 5, 8 different things that are our source, that's our input to the whole process. And so what I was able to do once I drew this up as a DAG like this, it was actually much more complicated than this. So I was using software actually to make a graph for me. As what I did was I went through and I said, okay, these are the things that we need. To went back to my internal customer, and said, does this all make sense? Let's walk through it. Let's explain it. And we iterated for a couple hours going through and fixing it, figuring out. And she's like, oh, well, no, we'll provide you with that. And so now I can just put a little star next to it and say, hey, okay, this is input. I'm going to be given this. I don't have to go figure it out. So now that's an endpoint on this side saying, okay, well, I don't have to go any deeper on that. But then if there's anything out here that's outstanding that I don't know the answer to, I now have a point at which I can ask a question. What does this mean? How do I provision an account? Who has to authorize it? And those questions don't come up until you get down to that level and moving backwards like this. So part of the thing is that I like to just, don't worry about that. It's fine. We'll take care of it. I have a really bad habit of doing that. And as a result, I end up doing very bad estimates. And there have been times when I've taken on a project and set a firm fixed price for it, and it cost me about 10 times what my bid was. I lost my ass. So because of that, this is one of the reasons why I came up and started doing this, was because I needed a system to force myself to ask those clarifying questions. Because then once I have all of this, I can take this entire thing, hand it off to a team, and they've got pretty much all the information they need to know to be able to go execute on it. Yes.
I think that's, you just gave us that example of not pricing. So we've had a class on pricing strategies. Like we have the emotional part, right, that we always put into it, but having a logical part But that is a great example of working backwards. Now, can you use this clarification for pricing for a service?
That's most of what I use it for. It's exactly that. It's because if, for instance, David comes to me and says, hey, I need an application that does this. I need an application that walks people through their cybersecurity assessments. Then I could just be like, oh yeah, I know a bit about cybersecurity and you're getting a web app and some authentication stuff and account management. Yeah, whatever. That's gonna be roughly, well, let's just say it's gonna be 50 grand. Well, in reality, it's gonna be like $1 million to build something like that. Just because there's a lot of complexity, because I'm not going in and asking, well, what is it supposed to be like? And so if I go through and I say, okay, I ask him, what's the problem? What's the problem we're trying to solve? What's the problem he's trying to solve? He's trying to help his customer base get through this whole certification process. And so I'm like, oh, well, what does that mean? What are the requirements? What is it that what's the, like, when you're saying you're helping them through that, what does that mean? Oh, well, we need a web app. We need a mobile app so they can record things. They need to be able to authenticate it. It needs to be a secure environment. So these different things. Well, then once I have that, I'm like, okay, well, in order to do that, what do I need to deliver? And so then I'm gonna say, okay, well, he needs a mobile app, he needs a web app, it needs to run in the cloud. So, okay, so I need to have a cloud environment set up for him, running this application, and I need to, that's what I need. So in order to build out that environment, what do I need? Well, I'm gonna need an AWS account. I'm gonna need a cloud architect to kind of design it for me. I just keep working backwards to identify what all the detail is I actually need. And here I am right now, hand waving it. But if you go through that process, if I go through that process, it actually forces me to come and say, well, what do I need in order to actually deliver this?
Yeah.
What it is that I need to get to that outcome. And then I can go through and I can say, okay, based on all this, not only can I have a solid estimate in terms of the level of effort, but I also know I can also do a Gantt chart saying when I can deliver this, which is equally important. Because a lot of times you say, okay, well, yeah, it's gonna cost this much money, but over what period of time?
Yeah, so for our providers, the professionals in the room, that might be good for us. Do we have time to go through some?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, that's the content. I mean, that's the thing. At this point, my next step is let's go through some examples and let's throw stuff out there. And I'll tell you, I can, in a lot of ways, this is like coaching. I can't give you the answers. All I can do is kind of coach you through the questions using this model. So
it reminds me of like a mind map, because a lot of times I'm mind mapping. So I know Tammy uses Go High Level, Dr. Dana. I'm on Go High Level when you want to set up workflows for like nurturing your clients. So when they come on, so I'm assuming this is kind of relevant because I have a certain process I have to do to nurture that.
Great for building a workflow.
Like for emailing I think that would be a good problem, how do we stay in contact? I don't know, I'm just throwing an idea out, but.
Yeah, who has a something that they're struggling with right now, they're trying to get. Veronica, you're new to the group, there's a reason that you joined.
New. I have a lot of projects going on,
Okay.
and I don't know how to pick one. Pick one, do that one, then do the others.
Okay, how tough would that be, Aaron?
I don't know. Let's try it.
All right.
I'm very good at not knowing things. Okay, so let's start. I'm gonna take my time writing, so it's a little bit easier for everybody to read. I get excited and write fast. So let's start with problem statement. So what's our problem statement?
I have a lot of projects and I don't know how to pick just one, or I don't know how to make them all come together cohesively.
Don't know how to figure out my problem. And I don't know how to figure out what to work on.
I do.
Figure out what to work on.
Like where do I start?
Yeah.
So, so I'll tell you, one of the things like you're saying, that's very vague. And so that's one of the things is that what will happen as you go through this. We're gonna figure out what the actual problem is. And I will tell you, there are times like like one example I've used a number of times is, you have a bunch of users that are complaining about your system. So, your problem, there's different problems that you can have. One is that, oh, well, I have a bug in my software, I have a piece of my service that sucks, is not unpleasant. That's one problem. Another problem is that your user's sucking to file. That's an equally valid problem to have. So a lot of times we go through and we figure, hey, maybe this isn't the right problem. Okay, so what would we say are the requirements of a solution?
Temporality, taking it to an easier term. In this moment, what is the most important thing in this moment to take care of?
I would say that's a solution. Is choosing that. But what would be, how would you?
Yeah, how do you find that? What
Defining,
is most important?
defining priorities, so you have to
So-
define the priorities.
So your requirement is that you have one problem that you're working, right? I mean, that's the requirement is that I have one problem for focus. Or let's just say one task, or let's figure out, let's just say one problem to work on. All right, so because if you find whatever solution you have, if you're only working on one problem, you solved it, right? Okay, so our outcome is that we need one problem. So let's see how this goes. We have one problem. I have no idea how this is gonna go. This is really generic. Let's see, so, okay, one problem. We have one problem to work on. So in order to do that, what do you need to have? If you need to you have one problem, so you need, so you need priorities. So yeah, I'd say know your priorities is a good one. Let's just say that you need to know your list of problems, right? So you need to know what your list of problems is. So these are both things that are, I would not say that these are necessarily dependent on each other. So in order to get a list of your problems, what do you need? Do you know what all your problems are right now?
Just dump them, I guess. I have products, but I'm not promoting because I don't have a very strong email list. And the email list that I have, I'm having issues with the Gmail, letting it go through, it's going to spam. And my biggest problem is I can't get my message across through to the people that want to hear it on my email list, I guess.
So we have a better problem statement now?
Yes.
Okay, so this process, now we did almost nothing. And we've already clarified the problem down to what was that again?
I can't get my message across to the people on my list,
Your target audience.
my target audience.
Can't get message to target audience.
You know the target. Yeah, it's, I do have the target. It's, women from 35 to 60. Empaths or people that consider themselves to be highly sensitive people, or persons. And it's emotional abuse survivors.
Okay, so you just got jumped over to here, which is fine, but no, it's okay. So our requirements for this is your target audience has awareness of you.
Yeah.
Your
So
friends.
are requirements kind of what the solution is?
This is the requirements are how you measure a solution, because we're not solution. We're just clarifying. So if I want to go and I want to say, how do I tell whether or not this proposed solution is going to actually solve my problem? This is the criteria. This is your test case. how do I test a solution that's provided so that to make sure, so in this case, how do you test to see if a solution satisfies this? How do you measure that your target audience knows about it?
Okay, well, if I'm sticking with the email list, I guess what's the word, the data that they give me, the insights, is that what?
Analytics.
The
So
analytics,
it's just
yeah.
gonna say analytics says so. So it's, well, your analytics will have some metric, but for right now, so you would want to put that metric in here, say, what does that metric look like?
Mhm.
So if it's like, if you, it says, so let's just say it's a greater than 50% response rate. Or click rate, or click through, something like that.
Yeah,
Click through.
well, right now it's also not the yes,
Yeah, well, but that's the problem, right?
yeah,
So this is how you're measuring this,
yes.
okay? How you're measuring a solution for this. So now we go, we say, okay, well, what's the outcome that we want?
Outcome that I would
Yeah.
want is for them to actually open the email and grow the
Okay.
list.
Yeah, so open email. So that's the outcome that you want. So what do we need to do in order to get people to open emails? We have to send them. What's that, go ahead?
Yeah, you have to send it, they have to get it.
Yeah, so
Two
they have to
distinct-
receive email.
Yeah,
Yes. Which means, and to receive an email, you have to send an email, right? Send. Now, we also know that we have to be able to measure it. We have to have a, what do they call it? The little single pixel,
yeah, the tracking pixel.
the tracking pixel, yeah. So you have to have a tracking pixel in there. So we know we have to have that in whatever solution we're doing.
What is a tracking pixel?
So it's a link that's in the email that has attached a little image that's 1 pixel you can't see. So that when you open the email, it visits that link just so it can show you the image. And that's how it knows that you opened the email. So most CRM packages have something along those lines so that you can measure it so they open your email.
So this would go into not sending from a Gmail account,
Mm-hmm.
but from your CRM, right? That would be the big
Potentially,
picture
yeah.
over that.
I don't know, like, how specific do you get here? Because there are different ways to track deliverability of emails, right? So,
So you don't have to, we just say tracking, we need a tracking mechanism.
yeah, I'm just
Just so we
curious.
don't get too techy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a technical guy, so forgive me. But I mean, but that's the
And
thing.
how much would you want to put yourself in a box? Because it may be that you have a CRM that you're stuck in and it uses tracking pixels.
Mhm.
And so a tracking pixel may be a requirement or
Existing CRM. We have to use the existing CRM, that's one of the requirements.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, that's the thing, is that a lot of times, and we will, and we'll find that out when we're going through this thing, oh, well, like you just said, oh, well, we have an existing CRM we have to use. So, I mean, that's exactly the type of thing that we refine this. And so we get in here, we're like, okay, well, I guess that is a tracking pixel.
Yeah.
So now. This doesn't necessarily 50% response click through, 50% click through, but you know, your target audience. One of the things we haven't talked about here is like picking your target audience. So what about the target audience? We need to know the target audience before we send, right?
yeah, you have to have a message
So
to
just say who,
actually send.
and we need what message? Or bad one. That's MSG, like message. Is what message are we sending? Who are we sending it to? So as we work through this, we get down and you can start to say, okay, so like working through this, so okay, so we know we need to send emails and we're getting very detailed into what the actual workflow is, but that's good, in my opinion, because then if you come and communicate to me, I can help you automate that. You go talk to Noah Riley, who just walked out a few minutes ago. He's all about this automation stuff.
Well,
You're okay, I'll use AI.
And what she's looking for right now is what is the thing that I work on? This is a big problem. They're not getting the emails. I know all of these other things contribute to it, but what do I work on? Like
Yeah, like where do I start? How do I?
Well, so what part of this do you have figured out?
Well, I have been sending emails, out weekly for 3 months now. And I guess what I'm trying to figure out is with the Gmail, I guess I did something wrong with the with the subject and what's inside of it. You're not supposed to use free, because I'm trying to get them to go onto my website and download free stuff. And it put them into the spam folder. So I guess I do have a target audience. I do have it's a small email list. I think it's only 140 right now. And I am sending messages to people that are concerned with, or not concerned, but like spiritual seekers, and the message is very spiritual, and also comes back to like my books. It comes back to my digital course that I got, and right now that's all I have. That's all I'm doing is the books and the digital course.
So you have the message,
Okay, so
you have the who,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
and you're sending.
So you're sending.
So the problem is,
So
It's
is
not
this not the
opening.
message? Is it that they're not opening them?
It's going straight to their junk mail.
Okay, so the problem is that so let's go back and refine the problem. My emails,
think I thought one from this.
Oh, okay.
my emails are going to junk. Spam. So, I mean, this is, so Dan, what you need to work on is how do I not get my emails to spam?
Right.
So we refined it down to that,
Yes.
okay? So now, okay, so then we can solution based on that. So do we know why your emails are going to spam?
From what I understand, so I have a domain with GoDaddy, and I'm using Outlook. I'm not very familiar with them. And I'm using ConvertKit. Well, I guess they just changed to Kit now.
Mhm.
But I'm using Kit to be my mail. Is Outlook the CRM? I'm not sure.
The Outlook's just an email client, yeah.
Okay, so then I don't have a CRM. No, it would be Podia. Podia is a CRM, right? That would be like this. I don't know. Is that the online?
What are
CRM?
you using to manage your clients, or you manage that email list?
Just ConvertKit.
Okay, I don't know enough about ConvertKit. I'm assuming ConvertKit has.
yeah, ConvertKit's gonna have, I mean, it is to convert your leads into customers.
Mhm.
And so it's got different methods for doing it. One of them is email.
Mhm.
And so I would say, unless you have a separate system where you're tracking the sales journey with there we go, using journey, the sales journey with your customer. I don't know if you do that in ConvertKit or not.
Just like the drip emails, the sequence emails.
Okay, yeah, but if, let's say you have a phone call with somebody and you have notes from that phone call,
Mhm.
is there a system that you put those notes into?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't have a system.
Okay. So I wouldn't call ConvertKit a CRM, but it's probably the closest that you have right now
Yeah.
to a CRM. So,
I mean,
Would you elaborate on what a CRM is?
it's customer relationship management. So from the sales perspective,
Yeah.
yeah, for the sales perspective, you need to be able to keep track of who you're talking to, what
Mhm.
interactions you're having with them. Like for instance, in my day-to-day, I may talk to 40 people. I can't not remember every conversation I have, so you track all that data in your CRM. The more advanced CRMs will integrate with your email, and they'll integrate with all sorts of different things with your social media accounts to be able to basically say, okay, any interactions I've had with this person, give me my notes on this. And you can also usually set up for future appointments. HubSpot is one of the big ones. For
Kim
that.
says she uses less annoying CRM. So we've got.
What's a less annoying? Oh.
that's the name of it. That's the name of the CRM.
Yeah,
Their target market.
can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love it. I've been using it with my our personal financial services business, and then I use it also to track the Dreamers business. And it is technically less annoying. You can set it up. It has a lot of stuff in it. It's very inexpensive as a CRM, and it's only $12 a month. So for me, that works perfect for my business. But I mean, there's a lot of them out there. I mean, and I think it's necessary. I need to be able to place notes in something and keep track of things. So I like it.
I keep thinking about MailerLite.
Yeah, MailChimp, yeah.
No, I don't. It just keep popping into my head. So I thought, well, I guess that's it.
So one of the things is, I mean, you start off saying that you're trying to figure out what to focus on.
Mhm.
You know, at its core, your email's going to spam is the problem.
Right.
And I mean, there's a number, I mean, that's a good place to solution from. You don't necessarily need to go into more detail on this. That's a pretty core, basic level problem. And that's one of the things, is like a lot of times you'll end up trying to solve bigger problems when your real issue is a tiny one. My emails are going to spam. Well, you know, get a different mail system.
Well, that's why I didn't start looking into CRMs or anything else, because I'm thinking, well, I don't even have sales yet. So I can't get my message across yet, and I'm trying to grow the email list. And because everything I do is online. And so, yeah, but that is my first.
I think this is great because your initial problem was I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So your problem clarification strategy, the 3 steps, now got you to really clarify on where to start, one problem at a time, and then
Yeah.
discover where the problem is.
Yeah, and what we see, I mean, you're doing message who and you're sending, but they're not opening the email because it's in spam or it's getting the email. So we know that where the problem is. The problem is happening somewhere between you clicking send and their email system receiving and how it manages. There's something happening in between there. And so that's really where the issue is.
And
Now we
it's-
know where to focus.
It's specifically Gmail. It's like 30 accounts are just not getting it. It's email, Gmail.
So what
And I can probably tell you why that is if we were looking at it, and we can do that at some point. I can probably tell you exactly why it's happening.
So the thing about it is that, you know, we have this natural tendency to start jumping and throwing out ideas and solutions. Like when we started talking about the CRM stuff, that was the case in point. This is something I'm like one of the worst at. Like you come with me the problem, I have like 30 solutions right here on the way. I'm ready to go. And so a lot of this to me is also just about, let's stay focused on the problem. Until we isolate, we get down to the core thing. Because if you say, well, I don't know how to figure out what to work on. When we're talking about that, I'm thinking about, well, do you need to like read getting things done? I mean, it's like, is this just a matter of like not knowing how to prioritize? But really, you have a sort of flow in mind, something you're struggling with, which is really what the issue is. And so I'd be wasting my time trying to advise you on how to prioritize. It's better to just ask you questions until I'm like, okay, well, let's go down in the nitty-gritty detail, and we'll flounder around with this. But at the core, I mean, your email's going to spam, and that's something that you could really drill down and focus in on, and probably resolve in a day or 2. And once you do that, then you have bigger problems to deal with. But that's the thing, is then you can go through this again and be like, okay, what's the next thing? And I mean, you'll figure it out. So helpful.
Yes, very,
Okay.
very, because I'm like, I don't know what to do. What do I do first? And the biggest problem right now is the emails going to spam.
So it's funny that you say this, that you said that, because at least once a week, this is how I start my day, as I write myself this literal sentence: I don't know what to I don't know what to work on today. And I go through this problem solving, this problem process for myself to figure out what my most important things are that I need to deal with today. So, I mean, it's that one really got me, just because I knew like that was like, yeah, I know that feeling.
I like this.
So.
I like this. I'm wondering, does anybody, I think we're good to go on another.
We're good,
Yeah.
yeah. We're good.
Data, Kim, Tammy, do you guys have a problem that you're trying to figure out where to start with or work on?
You want a complex one?
I mean, complex would be great. It's funny because a lot of
No.
the complex ones end up being much simpler than I expected. But yeah, we can do
So
whatever.
with what I do, it sounds, too woo-woo for practical people, yet one of my, I just wrote out, I have a whole bunch of IT tech engineers, and some of them are on the leading edge of the technology. And that thing about what an emotion is with a tech engineer, it doesn't compute very well, and people think of me as well, you're about all that emotional crap, all right? But yet, one of the niches is, and it's usually either they've got a problem specific like procrastination, or, and for most creative types, it's very, very common. I really love this part of my job, and this much of my job I hate, all right? So mostly how they get to me is by personal referrals by other people that have seen them. And so it's, and so that presents a little bit of a problem. In other words, it's almost like, how do I find these tipping point people who, when they say you really need to go see this guy, they go. You know, I had somebody years ago that came in, and she, in every way you would think, looked perfect. And she walked in the room before I could get the door closed. She was weeping, and we started the whole process of getting her out of that horror. I mean, she was just falling apart, and we got her so she wasn't falling apart. But she had 6 people refer me to her, and 4 of them were healthcare providers. And it took 6 people to get her to do that. I just had one from networking from years ago, and it took her about 8 years to come in. and so there is that kind of nebulous of getting, I know if I were just opening a storefront, I know that they need to see me 7, 8, 20 times in the community, and then it sticks and they come in. So my biggest issue is how do I get in front of them in different formats or through that authoritative person. But for example, I have medical doctors, so that's one of my, they're holistic. They are not, here's your pill, goodbye. And they have found that they'll recommend, and it isn't enough people yet. And so only occasionally will one of those kind of start to filter in. So my problem is how do I tie it in so that enough people and you know, I'm all over the world. I just did a thing in Italy, that presentation at a women's retreat, online in this case, unfortunately. And so that's the real issue. It's kind of nebulous for me.
Sounds like converting leads to customers, you know.
Well, they, before there's contact, it's converting, because it's inappropriate. Let's say you're a chiropractor, which is another good source for me. It's inappropriate for the chiropractor to say this guy will get a hold of you, because the same thing with me with making referrals. It's extremely inappropriate when you have an off-balance relationship with the person, you know, doctor, patient, etc., for you to market to them somebody else that, yeah, making referrals is really important. So the nebulous part is how do I find more ways so that people in the community, and the community can be anywhere online, you know, I mean, I'm on most continents sooner or later, and so that they get enough feedback seeing me in different formats, and people saying, this guy actually does stuff that works. So that's the problem statement. How do I get?
Well, that's a question.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you state that as a problem?
Well, the problem is there's an organic growth. I mean, for example, life coach has the one lady who's a disaster in her business. That lady turned out to have severe abuse issues, which I take on. I mean, the worst stuff you've ever seen. But then she made a referral to a family member that made a referral to a distant family member that made a referral to, that's how they show up, that made a referral to another friend, and that friend happens to be in a profession, and so now I'm getting retired teachers. That's another niche.
So what's the, I guess, the root problem? You're obviously, you're trying to get people that need your services, that need your help. And the problem is they're not coming for
Well,
whatever reason, or it's taking
The
too
problem
many.
is that, you know, they're not aware that you exist.
More direct and quicker.
But, well, yeah, because they're aware that they have the problem.
Okay.
They aren't aware that this weird stuff I do actually biologically works. And in standard marketing, as much as I've been able to get, the more times they see you, the more times those referrals will get people to come in. So,
Like education to your
I was
referral
about to
sources.
say, so yeah, so it sounds to me like what you're saying is that your problem space has a credibility
initially, yeah, I mean,
Really
it
does.
is, I think you're stating it really well, and so, but not just credibility, there's, what I do is a niche that, it is a thing that most people don't envision exists.
It's unknown.
Well, that I think it could apply to a lot of people in this room or even online, because there's a lot of unique services, the holistic or I don't use alternative as much anymore because it's gonna be the norm coming up. Really, but
Plus, it's way older than the thing that made everybody.
other
else
side
think.
conversation.
Yes.
But I think it all comes back, right? Everybody in this room has to educate.
Mhm.
And I think, and Kim can contest to this too. Kim, I couldn't clearly state your pitch, right? Your elevator speech, if she's listening. Right, so I think it goes back, you might have to unmute. It goes back to if the people in the room can't clearly state your 30-second intro,
Mhm.
then you're not having a clear intro that they even grasp. Maybe Kim you want to reiterate, because we just had an epiphany on that.
Yeah, actually, it was last fireside chat, and when you introduced me and you were struggling with it. And I think that was very valuable to know that what we think we do, if it doesn't translate into the minds of the people that want to come see us, that they see that we can help them with their problem, then they won't seek us out, right? They
Yeah,
just
the-
won't.
The problem
So,
is fast mind, slow mind. That's the current neurobiological way to refer to it. Unconscious mind and conscious mind. Everybody is fixing their conscious mind, and their unconscious reactive mind, which is a million times bigger, literally. It has set things that are imprinted. And what I do is go into those imprints and we unrecord the intensity of those imprints. Like I can't, it can be, well, I can, like I'm realizing not to bash my head against the brick wall, or it could be I can. You don't understand when it's like that. That's what's driving people. And they have no idea that you can change it.
so is that your problem? Is that what you just said
no,
to me right now?
it
Is that
just-
your problem?
Not enough people getting, in other words, the person will get it from one person. The problem is getting many other referrals in this direction. In other words, like I said, that one case, which turned out wonderfully, she had severe anxiety, and it's gone, and now she can just go through life without it. But it took 6 people saying, this guy does something that actually works. And so the problem is how to get those 6 people or 4 people or 3 people, that people that are wandering around the planet will
here's
run
Tammy.
into.
Tammy has a good point. Go ahead, Tammy.
Yeah, one, by what I'm hearing, because I heard you say a couple keywords that you're technique is weird, and you threw out a couple of things. So I wonder if actually there's a block inside of you around your technique about what you perceive other people are perceiving of what you do. And so energetically, but I know that you're wanting to do referral based, and a lot of people are referrals. So if you're an individual that wants to do referrals, then create a referral program so that those individuals are doing the talking for you, and it motivates them a little bit more.
Yes, that is happening. The issue is getting that happening in a more broad way, so the people are finding it more and more often. Because, for example, if you're in distress and you hear me say that, we can give you the thoughts, emotions, reactions, and body sensations you want. If they're freaking out about something, they already completely get what I just said. But since I'm not wandering around the community in enough places, so that's almost the answer, where somebody is going to walk in that's and like they can look perfect. Most people with tremendous anxiety, for example, you don't know. They're
Yeah, but
certainly not going to show
If
it.
we come back to the problem, right? You still have to have clarity in your message so your referrals can refer to that person. So then they have clarity in what you do.
I
Right.
think it's interesting, like we're coming to him with solutions to the
Yeah.
problem already, and we haven't even defined the problem.
Yeah, yeah, the problem is the need to have multiple exposures to me. And what this technique does for them.
The problem right now is you're not getting enough exposure to your technique to the people that need it. Is that?
Mhm.
Is that?
From different resources. If for example, if I were, and the EFT master who started Pro EFT, for example, they thought they're in the Bay Area. This is the biggest woo-woo place that you can imagine. And one of the mentors was an acupuncturist. So they took the acupuncture magazine for the Bay Area, and they reached tens of thousands of people and got 2 referrals. Because it's different than, because people need to see examples by people that they know and have seen it work. So in the long run, yeah, I have people all over the world that are going, you got to see this guy. But many of the people they refer to don't get another person saying that to them. So,
You need multiple inputs into that person, so they get a referral, but they also need to see your marketing material, maybe on social. They need to see the social media, and they need a referral maybe from a different place as well.
yeah,
The problem is, how do you get all of those touch points that are necessary to the person that needs it, so that they actually come see you.
Yeah, and that's it's pretty much a person I really trust made the referrals. And so yeah, it's not a problem, so to speak.
Really nice for you.
Yeah, you say too many people required to refer.
Yeah, because you're saying it takes 6 people
Or
to get someone to actually come. It takes 6
well,
referrals.
for example, I'll take a recent referral. It was one guy, but it's a referral of a she from the guy. Now she's going to this guy for business, and the guy said that a couple, 3 times, is I had exactly the organizational problem that you're having, and it works. And he really made a huge difference in my life. And that was enough for that person to come in, because he's a really trusted resource. And so it's getting to trusted resources, and then getting the trusted resource to understand what's happening or to experience it. So it's and you know, like I said, there were 20,000 views on Pro EFT from the Pro EFT master who created it. And after 20,000 views, they got 2 people when they were explaining it. But it really makes a difference when someone who has really gone through it is trusted. That's perfect. You don't need multiple people.
Okay.
But for most people in the community, they need to hear it from their naturopath, they need to hear it from their chiropractor, they need to, and then all of a sudden, you know, it'll generate one.
So maybe it's the type of media that you're using, because what I'm hearing is the best exposure is in-person experience, it's the optimal, but the type of media that you're using, putting out there, like you said, putting it out there to 10,000 people and you get 2, that's a really low percentage. So I'm gonna relate this to social media. So this applies, because we've had this conversation doing analytics, is I find that a video testimonial is by far more powerful than a written static and even a dynamic post where the post, am I relating to this?
You're
Mhm.
solutioning.
I'm solutioning
But,
again,
so here's, let me.
but then it goes back to the problem.
Yeah, let me break in for a second. So one of the things is that, you know, listening to you and going through all of this, one of the things that I'm noticing is that you're having trouble clearly identifying what the problem is. So we can help you with that. I mean, that's what other people can help you by giving you feedback. So one of the things is how do you measure fixing that? Like if there's a lack of awareness, if you're having a lack of converting to.
The way I have been measuring it, I was in B&I for a long time, and that's an organization that is almost hostile to holistic health with the other people in the room, but you get people that come through and then, but it's a long drawn out process. And so ask me the question again.
How do you measure?
Oh,
How do you
yes,
know,
thank
how do
you.
you know when you don't have that problem anymore?
Because I take the income that comes in and I track where it came from, including back 5 generations if needed. So I can see the formats that are working. But those formats change, and then figuring out there's got to be a way to accelerate this a bit. And so that's actually what I'm really looking at. I'll be meeting with Jason. He's already my web guy, but and seeing how to get a web presence that more easily communicates that.
So
It's gonna help you with your SEO.
I used to, well, this is when I started and got into my first website with my first web developer years ago. I had excellent SEO in the last few years, you know, are you working in your business or on your business? Well, as built up, I'm working in my business. And how you get excellent CEO now is more complex. And so one of the solutions is Jason is going to help me solve that. In the olden days, the way the not AI, but before AI, linguistic genomics, they call it. The more you, the more you were honest in what you were presenting, the better Google liked you, for example. In other words, and so anyway, that's kind of where it is once they've experienced it, they become really good referrals until they give up referrers. And because all they have to do is, oh, you really got to go see this guy, and they get turned down 3 times and they just go.
So with Jason, he's gonna update your website so that you can get more visibility. How will you know that his efforts worked?
No, because more people will come in.
Okay.
More people, so I wrote this out as exposure to engagements. But I mean, that's conversion number. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very common measurement. So it seems to me like, so this is what you're trying to do. I mean, you're trying to get you're trying to get action taken based on the information that you're putting out there. And that's gonna be with however you're gonna measure your engagement, whether it's through your analytics or whatever.
So I'm probably walking in the right direction, as I've had all sorts of things happen technically, and we're getting all the technical things taken care of. And then, so I know that is a good direction to do it. But what really works is when the trusted people say it, or when multiple people
It's,
say.
it's still the same requirement. You have to get the exposure to those trusted people and you have to get them to engage.
Mhm.
So it's kind of the same,
Yeah.
the same requirement is getting
Yeah.
exposure and engagement.
And therapeutically, for example, I mean, in the standard business, you can have a referral that you can have something that they get from making the referral. The problem with that and what I do, it's unethical. You know.
Or is it unethical? Because when you go from doctor to PT, a doctor would send a prescription over to the PT and then we would call them.
Yeah, once the
Not that I want to go on solutions, because we gotta come back to why we're here.
Yeah, so let's bring it in a little bit here. So, so in terms of the outcome that you're looking for, is that you want more trusted advisors that are aware of you and referring?
Yeah, and they understand and they can say, it's even so much better if they say, I did this, it really helped me with that. That is a much better referral source than anything.
Well, and is it shortening the time of the referral to the time of engagement? Of them engaging you?
Oh, yeah, there is that, you know, I can tell you several of the stories like to describe what it's done for people. I mean, I've had 6, 7, 8 years out from somebody that
But
I
yeah,
met with
that's-
and knows about me.
Michelle's saying that your problem is you wanna shorten that time.
Mhm. And in order to shorten the time, there needs to be more exposure, particularly by different people. So that's the original.
So yeah, so basically you need more awareness by trusted advisors out there to the refer. So I suppose the outcome is that is the trusted advisor aware and referring to you, measured by whatever their engagement, whatever your conversion rate is. So the question is then, okay, if this is our outcome, how do we, what needs to happen for you to do that?
That's there's some added feature that needs to happen because most people that are making referrals, when they said, well, I've told 6 people about you, how many showed up? And if they aren't getting feedback that the referrals that they're making are happening, why should I even make a referral?
So
I can think of a doctor in town that's her problem.
I'm gonna say that you need relationships that need to exist with the trusted advisors. I would also say
That's very smart.
that I would say a clear message so that they are able to, like the elevator pitch, so that they understand what is exactly you're doing and what value you're adding. I think that's going to be an important part of that. And I mean, the relationships, I mean, we could go and dive into different ways you could be doing that with those relationships. But I mean, where would you go from here?
Oh,
What do you have to have good relationships?
Yeah, well, you have to have good relationships with those trusted advisors.
Probably more contact, and so it is solving that for me, is more non-intrusive. I'm not taking up too much of your time contacts.
So more contact is something that would help with that relationship. What else do you need?
Can I say something here? Cause I'm his girlfriend, so. I think he thinks his message is clear because that's the way he speaks and it's really clear for him. I think the people he talks to don't get it and he says it kind of fast and they don't get the concept. That's what I see on the side.
Yeah, so one of the things that I would say probably to have a clear message is you need to get some feedback.
You need somebody else to tell your
Yeah,
message is clear.
Yeah, you need to get some extra. So one of the things so Noah Riley, who hangs out here a lot, like I say, just to walk out, one of the things that we do with each other is that we test our elevator pitches on each other. And we will sit there and make fun of each other and tease each other until we get it right. And so we do that a lot, and we'll experiment with different things and get that outside perspective. And so that's one of the things is going through and taking your message that, like, when you're sitting here explaining to me, you are going a lot of different directions, and it took me a long time to really to understand what your message was there and what kind of the problem space was. Having people that are, when you test, you go and you say, okay, here's my message, I'm gonna test this, I'm gonna keep it down to one paragraph. Tell me if this communicates what my value is. And be able to make sure that with the trusted advisors are those people can understand that message and can then relay it to the people that would be your potential customers.
Which Dana commented, we do this every time we have coffee and collaboration. So we do a 30-second to 60-second introduction, like BNI, but then we have our trusted advisors, which is your GOL network, right? Your community. And I think that, am I going on the right track, Dana, or do you want to chime in? But it goes back to this, right? Like having feedback from people. Go for it.
Yeah, I think that, Kim and I have been sitting here talking about how it's so beautiful when you can explain what somebody else does, right? So it's a good place to be at of people that understand you more and use your wordage and your verbiage and to get clarity, right? And maybe that's a piece that we add in if people are interested in getting feedback is, is your message clear? Are you saying what you want to say to the common person? And my one little thing, I have to go take off to a visit, but the last Fireside chat that was done by Boise Web Jason McKinsey, he talked about picking the power words that you say and the power words that your clients say and making sure they match.
Yeah.
That was a game changer for me last month. So that's my little nugget there is look at that and then take this problem solving situation and add that in. Like I'm excited to do it and see how it plays out for my problem and solutions. But a lot of good advice. Thank you guys so much for everything. This was awesome.
Yeah, he's next on my list, and I think that is.
Oh, before you go, hold on, I'm gonna take a screenshot.
Okay.
Tammy.
Your light is so bad in here.
Not much I can do about it.
Okay. Oh, wait. We're gonna do it again. Wait, we'll do one with this. Oh, right, wrong buttons. Did I take it?
I think you can
Yeah, there
use,
you go.
I could.
There you go.
Oh, now Tammy's on. One more.
We're smiling, but you can't tell.
I'll add one of our pictures and I'll cheat. I'll Photoshop. Oh, Tammy, you blinked. Okay.
Don't blink.
One more. 3D.
Get your head in there.
I'll Photoshop us in. 3, 2, 1, smile.
Whoops. She took it as I went back.
It's okay.
No,
I'll take a picture of us and put
there
us
we
in.
go. That'll, well, okay.
You'll see.
All right.
Photoshop. Okay, that's it. Thanks. I think
Problem is giving me a good screenshot.
So one of the things I would say too is that as we're going through here and isolating this is one that came up that we kind of dove in on a little bit.
Yeah.
This is a problem statement in and of itself. I don't have a clear message, or people don't think I have a clear message. I may think I have a clear message. I think that a lot, and people are like, oh, what the hell are you talking about? So I mean, that's one of the areas where you can say, okay, well, that may be a key area to focus on. As it is a separate problem in and of itself, and then you can work back and say, okay, well, what else do I need to have a clear message?
Yeah, because the requirement for a clear message, somebody else is able to speak my message back to me.
So for a clear message, I need simple language. I need concise. These are the things that you need to have for a clear message. Getting feedback to help work through those different things. So you can, and this is the thing about using the directly cyclic graph, is that you can take any point, any node in the graph and just tear it off, and that's a whole different problem that you're working with. It's all about the decomposition of those problems, yeah. And so, I mean, like I said, it came out of software engineering because this is the process that I was using a lot for that. And I just started using it for other stuff. Especially when I started seeing people do journals.
Well, it reminds me of like a psychology type of thing. Well, tell me more on that. Tell me more on that. Right. And then because like, well, what really is the problem? Like if it was a psychology, Cause sometimes we're just like floundering around, we're just treading water, trying to like, I don't know where to go. But this is creating a 3-step, like, if you stay on track, right? I want this outcome, what's the requirement? And just keep dialing that in, right?
And half the time, like, I'll go through several iterations on the problem, but then realize that my problem has nothing to do with what I started out thinking it was. Kind of like we did with.
Veronica.
Yeah, but I mean, that's one of those things where, you know, when you get down to it, you know, maybe we didn't solve the big problem, but at least we solved a little problem. And if you solve a lot of little problems, eventually you get closer to solving your bigger problem. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Can I make a suggestion?
Please,
I used to represent a sleep lab at one point and
what lab?
sleep lab, for like sleep
Yeah.
apnea and all that,
Mhm.
studies and stuff. So I used to visit doctor's offices and, once a month I would visit, cater a lunch and educate the doctors on what it is that I was doing, why it would help the patients, how many patients do you think you could provide? I'll come back next week, stuck the business card in their hand. That was back then, but I'm also thinking that with your business card, you could do a QR code, you could do a pre-recorded webinar, like 3 to 5 minutes, clear, concise, and then when they say, call this guy can help you, all they can do is just go click on it, see the webinar. I want that, and then just call you.
See, what I love about doing this is that it makes the problem so much smaller. And then all the ideas start coming. And then you get like solutioning that actually is appropriate.
Yes, and I like that you said that because I just met with somebody on their digital business card, which we can add to your guys's too, is a short video. So when people open your digital business card, it's a short video. I have found a profound improvement. What is GeoWealth? And you guys, and I would just sit and watch you guys explain it. You know, like as they're introducing me. That was a problem because there's nothing else out there like it. It was a big problem. We've been tackling this constantly with different elements. Doing the 6-minute welcome video on the website, but now what I do before I meet somebody one-to-one, they watch that 6-minute video so they know what our community is. It's been extremely powerful. My turnover rate now for new providers, they get us, they know our community and know our objective and our mission, and they feel it, the emotion of that video, right? Testimonial, but like really, it's a clear video. Then I follow up with the process of having to I email them, okay, now let's do an interview with some, and in that body of that link where they can sign up to do the interview for onboarding, I have testimonial videos. So I'm nurturing that specific ICP, ideal customer profile, which is the prospective professional member, which you guys haven't even really seen this process, but it's been really successful having that process. My problem was people don't understand what we are until they come, right? Same thing as Bill. They don't understand GeoWell till they show up because there isn't anything like it. And I know with EFT tapping, it's profound. Once you experience it, I've experienced it, not with you, but with somebody else. I mean, it was profound and it's powerful, right? So how do you take that and now you can instantly drip on them and nurture that in a very clear way? And it kind of goes back, right? Like my problem was that, and then we took steps to implement that.
So I love what Dana said about adding in the feedback from each other, because I feel like in the beginning, I didn't get where he was going with it until you took a couple of examples. Then I can really see how, gosh, we could do that with just little pieces and make big changes in
I
our
think
world.
we should do a coffee where we do each other's pitch.
Yeah, we've done that too. It's like do each other's pitches and
And if they don't know if it's a new person, but if you know somebody, don't do yours. We're gonna do somebody else. It's like and Kim and I, it was actually at the last social, that's where I can give other people's pitches. Cause I've heard it enough. It's clear. Jail release, I can do his pitch like in half asleep. Because I've heard he has a very clear, concise message. If you hear his message, and I've heard it so many times, I can reiterate it and it's powerful. And so then when I shared that, and I've experienced him as a client, You know, you've seen Gerald.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what I used to do when I had a minute, and I would give it a different example each week, I'd take and it usually was who was closest to the meeting I was going to, and I'd say, well, here's this problem, make it just a small segment of it. And I would show how it was this upsetting, then it was this upsetting. Over time, people will go, huh, you know, because in a short amount of time, you can't explain that they think it's problem A. I have anxiety, all right?
But that's it. The people don't want to know how you get there. They don't care. Honestly, people don't care. They want to know how they have their problem solved.
Yeah, the
Their
problem is
symptoms
not the
solved.
anxiety.
But that might be what they're feeling.
Yes, yes. The problem is they have an imprinted set of reactions that cause their anxiety to go off way too intense and way too often. And it's the imprinting of the pattern. And so they think the problem, because anxiety, it's when you deal with somebody that's totally anxious, I mean, it's debilitating. And they think the anxiety is the problem. There's functional anxiety. When I'm tapping, we discover what that is, and there's dysfunctional anxiety. And they've imprinted to react too strongly, too often. In other words, everything triggers it, and literally everything. And
But I think what she's saying is like, instead of explaining that, maybe just taking them from, you have anxiety, let's go and let's get rid of your anxiety, and that's more palpable, like it's a bite size for a person to take. I think that's what would help.
yeah, and so I'm gonna have to shorten the first part, so I have enough time. Cause usually I can do it in a minute pretty easily, of an example of what this is used for. And you know, like, you have heart palpitations that are sending you to the ER. Now, the guy doesn't have heart palpitations that send him to the
And I
ER.
think that simplicity, and this is something for everybody, what it goes back to. And we've talked about this in something else, like, we don't need to know how we got there, people just wanna know how they get, like, what they're like, what they need. I'm sick,
Mhm,
I have anxiety, I have stress, I can't sleep.
mhm.
Sometimes we know so much about our business and our subject matter that we overwhelm people with our knowledge instead of, yeah, I have the same problem. I've used it very well because it's a mirror. We're all mirrors for one another. And so I think it's sitting down with professionals that you respect in this group and figuring out how to make your vast knowledge into a succinct 30-second. This is what it is, boom, and that will shorten that window from exposure to engagement.
Yeah, I can do the same thing, but we're gonna take a lot more out.
And
We all have
practice
to,
it.
we all have to.
Mhm.
We know our subject matter super well. Nobody wants to know that. They wanna know, can we solve their problem?
Yeah, they don't wanna know that we went to school for 20 years to get that. They just wanna know, how do I change what I need to change? They don't need, we know so much.
And I think it goes right back to the same problem that you have and everybody else has, is how do we get, like, what medium, what different ways do I capture my target audience and bring them back in? Like, my problem is I'm not able to do that. So by having a clearer message, by having your videos, like, there is methods. But this is a very simple way you gotta work back, force yourself to work back.
Yeah, well, cause his focus when he started talking was, how do I get to enough different touch points and different ways to touch people. And what we've worked it back to is we clarified the problem is, first you have to work on the message. And that message has to be clear. And then maybe you can worry about touch points. The problem isn't the number of touch points. That may be a problem.
Mhm.
later down the road. But the initial problem, now that we've clarified it all, is you've got to get a clear message.
Empowering you to update your internal software, so you start having the thoughts, emotions, reactions, and body sensations you want. That's too much.
Yeah, people don't know what that means.
Well, and it's nebulous. I understand it, but it's,
But to the person that's just anxious, I don't understand what you're saying.
You
Tell
know
me how you're
why?
gonna
Yeah.
fix me.
It's
Like,
mental,
that's what they
it's too
want.
mental,
I'm trying to listen
or
to that.
if you're emotional, you
Yes.
won't connect, because he's so intelligent, he's got the
Yeah,
highest
no,
IQ.
of course.
But when you talk, you have to just say, oh, like, I have intuition, I could look and say, oh, I see it looks like you're feeling this, I draw the person right in because I'm connecting with their heart. He knows so much knowledge, but the person who's feeling something, they're not gonna be able to get what he's.
Yeah,
what does
not
that mean?
initially. During the process,
Yes,
they
then they will.
do need to become educated. Because
but not
part of,
before.
yeah,
Are we late?
They just need help now.
Really?
We've gone quite over this.
I think I've got it. Needs an example every time. And it's just empowering you to update your internal software and end of that first 30 seconds.
I would say, go back and watch last month, tie it back into this one, and you're gonna find some
Mhm.
clarity in your messaging. Cause it all,
Yeah.
the reason why we're doing this one and it just, I say divinely is because David and I were just, like, what was the next step? And then you two ran into each other at the coffee shop, and it really, it brings it back home. So whenever we do these fireside chats, they're not planned out months in advance. They are literally built upon one after the other. So we build upon it, and it really is like an intuitive build. We don't have a 6-month plan. Now, do we replicate? Yes, we do. So I would say go back. So if anybody's watching on here, go back, watch the last one, then come back to this. This is excellent. Because when you're floundering, you gotta stay on track with what you're, right? You gotta
Where
stick
do
to
we
the-
find the last videos?
All the videos are recorded and on the member portal. You log in and you have access to the learning experience, and all the fireside chats, they'll be on.
So it'd be called Fireside Chat?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're all on there. I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording on here. We can say goodbye to everybody that's watching. Thank you for watching the video if you're on the replay, or some of you guys in the room watching it again. Here,